where every word opens a new world. Welcome to the portal of stories.
They say the most painful betrayal doesn't come from the enemy, but from the familiar echo of a friendly laugh. Sometimes fate doesn't destroy with a single blow, but with the slow caress of a lie. And when the soul breaks after falling from great heights, some die and some awaken. This is the story of a woman who was loved only to be destroyed, of a promise dressed in gold that turned into a dagger. But it's also the story of a rebirth. Because there are silences that scream, and tears that teach, and names that need no surnames to shine with their own light. Florence was the stage, the heart, the wound, and vengeance, the path toward freedom.
Florence was the stage, the heart, the wound, and vengeance, the path toward freedom. Florence woke to the chime of trams and the soft murmur of tourists filling the cobbled streets. In Piazza della Repubblica, cafes opened like steel flowers, and the scent of espresso mixed with the warm aroma of fresh-baked bread. Giovanna De Luca held her cup with elegance from the terrace of Café Concerto Paszkowski. She observed the city like a silent empress. Her ivory-white dress flowed like a cascade over the wrought iron chair, and her pearl earrings whispered the story of her great-grandmother. "Do you feel it?" asked Cordelia, sitting across from her with a smile full of complicity. "It's in the air. All Florence knows your wedding will be the event of the year." Giovanna forced a smile, but inside something pulsed. "What I feel is that everything seems too perfect, as if something is about to explode." Cordelia laughed, bringing her fingers to her mouth with fake delicacy. "Please, Gio, don't be dramatic. You're about to marry the most desired man in Tuscany. What could go wrong?" Giovanna turned her gaze toward the dome of the Duomo visible in the distance. There was something in Cordelia's eyes, a glimmer she couldn't decipher. Villa Verniso, a work of marble and ancient ivy, hidden among the cypresses of Fiesole. Its corridors adorned with paintings of the Florentine school, its tapestries hung like silent shadows of the past. Everything must be spotless, commanded Dona Ornella Verniso Emilio's mother, while directing the staff like a general in campaign. "The Marchesa di Brera arrives in 2 days. If she sees a speck of dust, she'll rip my reputation apart with her nails." "Yes, signora," replied Livia. The housekeeper who had more wrinkles than gray hair and more secrets than both combined. Giovanna climbed the staircase, ignoring the commotion. She felt the walls watching her, as if they knew something she didn't yet. In her room, she found a sealed envelope atop the vanity. No sender. She opened it carefully. Inside a single photograph, Emilio and Cordelia embraced in front of the Fontana del Porcellino. The kiss left no doubt. A whisper escaped her lips. No trembling. She descended to Emilio's private study. The door was ajar. Inside, muffled voices. "Did you destroy the copy of the will?" asked Emilio in a low tone. "Yes. No one knows Giovanna would leave everything to you after marriage," answered Cordelia, her voice almost hoarse. "You did well, you faked it so well. With her, it was easy always, so trusting. And after what happened to her father, more vulnerable, Giovanna stepped back, feeling the ground sinking beneath her feet. Her breath caught. She couldn't scream. She couldn't cry. Not yet." That night, Florence seemed darker. The rain slipped between the roof tiles like a lament. Giovanna went down to the gardens. She needed air. She needed to escape. "Where are you going?" Emilio's voice stopped her. She turned around. Her eyes were no longer those of a bride-to-be. They were the eyes of someone broken. "I know about Cordelia. I know about the will." He stood frozen. "What did you say?" "What you heard. Silence thick final. You can't ruin everything now, Giovanna. It's too late." She stepped back. He moved forward. "Emilio, don't touch me." But he was already upon her, a shove a misstep, Wet marble, the edge of the staircase, a scream, the void, darkness. When Giovanna opened her eyes, the first thing she felt was the scent of roses, then the song of sparrows, then silence. Giovanna? Her maid. Francesca's voice came muffled from the other side of the door. She sat up abruptly. What day is it? Pardon, Signorina? What day is it? May 22nd. Signorina, 1 month before your wedding. The calendar hanging on the wall confirmed it. She was alive, and fate was offering her another chance. But this time she would not be the same. Florence seemed different. More alive, more dangerous. Florence seemed different. More alive, more dangerous. Giovanna walked along Via dei Calzaiuoli with firm steps, blending among tourists and locals as if it were all part of an invisible choreography. Her gaze wasn't trying to escape. It was trying to evaluate every stone, every face, every memory. Could be a tool or a trap. In front of Libreria Giunti al Punto, she stopped to observe her reflection in a storefront. The same face, the same green eyes, but she was no longer the naive girl who had trusted her life to a man. Now she was something else, something awake. Her first visit was to Francesca, her discreet maid, young with eyes that always seemed too aware. Do you remember what you told me that night? Giovanna asked as she poured tea on the family palazzo's terrace. What night, Signorina? Francesca replied hesitantly. The masked ball you said you heard Cordelia arguing with Emilio in the library. Do you still remember? Francesca lowered her gaze, unsure. Yes, but I didn't think it was important. They've always been close. You trusted them. Giovanna set the cup down firmly. I no longer do, and I need to know everything from the beginning. Francesca nodded, and in a low voice, she began to speak. Stolen glances, touches in dark hallways, broken words when they thought they were alone. That was the first thread. In the afternoon, Giovanna walked alone to the Giardino di Boboli. There, Domenico awaited her, the gardener who knew the secrets of plants and men. Do you remember me? She asked, sitting beside him on a stone bench. Domenico, a man whose face was weathered by sun and whose eyes were gray as metal, nodded. Of course I do. You were the only one who listened when I lost my sister. And now I want to help you, but I also need your help. Emilio is still dangerous. What do you know about his dealings? Domenico looked at her cautiously. He has dealings with people from Milan, money that comes and goes like smoke. Some call him the magician of numbers, but I'd say he's just an illusionist with hidden knives. Help me cut the strings, the rest I'll do myself. And she would. The next piece was Luca Carminati, a young journalist from the Corriere Fiorentino. He had tried to interview Emilio years ago, but was banned after asking too many uncomfortable questions. Giovanna met him at the Biblioteca Nazionale Centrale, where the shadows between bookshelves offered the discretion they needed. Do you remember me, Mr. Carminati? She asked in a calm tone. Luca looked up. He was young, with a bohemian air and ink-stained hands. He recognized her immediately. The fiancé of Mr. Verniso wants to talk to me? No, I want us to unmask him together. Excuse me? You've done the research, haven't you? I have access to documents, you have words. Let's form a pact. Luca narrowed his eyes. Why now? Because I've been reborn, and this time I know whom to trust. That night in Luca's villa, Giovanna pretended to write wedding notes while reviewing accounting documents with a magnifying glass, discovering minor frauds pointing to bigger frauds. The Verniso company's balance sheets were inflated non-existent properties, false records, and others that Emilio had stolen from widows in the South with empty promises. Each page she read was a seed. Her mind, once dulled by love, was now a lucid labyrinth. Aren't you going to sleep, Signorina? Francesca asked from the doorway. I'm planting my garden, one where truths will grow. A few days later, she organized a small but sharp gathering in her family home, an intimate dinner with dangerous names, Marchesa Lucrezia, Malfatti, Marco Beltrami, Adele Neri, and of course Cordelia. Cordelia, dear. said the Marchesa, raising her glass. How long have you known Emilio? Since Giovanna met him, she replied with a radiant smile. Giovanna took a sip from her glass, her eyes fixed on her. Are you sure? I thought it was before, or am I mistaken? Cordelia hesitated. The atmosphere grew tense. What are you implying? She asked with forced sweetness. Nothing, just that some friendships bloom faster when no one is watching. Laughter turned uneasy, but the Marchesa, like a beast, sensing blood, caught the scent. Ah, triangles have always been my favorite shape, she said, laughing. Cordelia flushed. Giovanna remained calm, her gaze steady. The game had begun. Florence remained dressed in spring, but beneath the blue sky snakes began to slither through high society, and at the center of the web was Giovanna reborn, while weaving alliances and sharpening revenge. The memories of the past returned, not as visions, but as echoes that mingled with her breath. One afternoon, as she walked through the halls of Villa Verniso, with Luca by her side pretending to admire works of art, she stopped in front of a portrait Dona Ornella Emilio's mother, the same woman who on the night of the engagement had told her, "Pearls aren't for everyone. Sometimes the shine overwhelms when you weren't born with it." Back then, Giovanna smiled, uncertain. Today, she understood. They never considered her a true part of the family, only a transition, a bridge toward her fortune. She also recalled the gala dinner at Palazzo Gondi. Everyone was there. Marchesa Malfatti, investors from Milan, the press, Emilio with a glass of Chianti. Cordelia is delightful, he had said. Sometimes I think she has better instincts for business than I do. She's a gem, Ornella added. If only she had been born into a different family. They all laughed. Giovanna took Emilio's hand under the table, seeking refuge. He let go after 5 seconds, gently, as someone frees themselves from an uncomfortable cloth, later while reviewing the ledgers with Luca in the Biblioteca Riccardiana. Her pen stopped in her hand, a thought like a gust. How many times did I see them glance at each other when they thought I wasn't looking? How many times did they excuse themselves at the same time? The image in her memory was clear. Cordelia slipping out the side entrance of the villa, wet hair shirt buttoned wrong, and she, Giovanna, had thought Cordelia was with one of the gardeners. Everything okay? Luca asked from his seat. Giovanna looked up. She couldn't tell him. Not yet. Just thinking that there are things one doesn't see until it's too late. The most painful memory came in the back garden while organizing plans with Domenico. Once she had seen Emilio by his father's grave, a man she loved, and Emilio barely tolerated. Giovanna gently offered to bring flowers every week. There are enough dead flowers in this place, Emilio responded coldly. Back then, she believed it was grief speaking. Now she understood. It wasn't grief. It was disdain. These memories didn't weaken her. They tempered her like steel. Every kind gesture she had once received, every fake smile, every glance she had ignored for love, were now tools, fragments she placed like pieces of a dark mosaic, which she finally understood. While Emilio began to look at her with new eyes, she perfected herself in the art of pretending. She embraced him tighter, looked at him deeper, confused him more. I feel lucky, as if I have more of you now than ever before. Maybe it's just that now you know how much you could lose me. He laughed nervously. He didn't understand the truth behind her words. Cordelia did. She began to sense something was wrong, that Emilio was changing, that Giovanna was no longer the innocent bride-to-be. She saw her talking with Luca at the opening of a gallery on Via Maggio. She saw the complicity. She saw the respect, and she felt the chill of jealousy for something she couldn't understand. That night, Giovanna walked alone along Lungarno degli Acciaiuoli, under orange lights that trembled over the river. The city seemed to whisper its truths to her. I was never weak, I was just blind. The past wasn't a ghost, it was a guide, and she followed it. directly to the heart of her revenge. Florence remained dressed in spring, but beneath the blue sky, snakes began to slither through high society. And at the center of the web was Giovanna reborn. While weaving alliances and sharpening revenge, the forgotten greenhouse stood behind Villa Verniso, iron and foggy glass consumed by ivy and silence. Only Giovanna went there now. That afternoon, a handwritten note reached Cordelia. "We need to talk where the truth once bloomed. G." Cordelia arrived wrapped in a camel coat, her steps tense. She hadn't slept well. Emilio was distant, restless. Something was unraveling. She found Giovanna standing between rusted columns, the light filtering through dust like pale gold. "What a poetic choice," said Cordelia, crossing her arms. "A dead garden, very fitting." "I thought you'd remember this place," Giovanna replied, unmoved. "You told me here that you were in love for the first time. That was someone else, not Emilio." "Are you sure?" A long silence. "What is this, Gio?" Cordelia asked. "I came to close a circle. How long have you wanted what was mine? Was it before or after my father died?" Cordelia paled. "What are you implying?" "I'm not implying anymore. I know everything, you and Emilio. The will, the accounts. Everything." Cordelia tightened her lips. "So what now? More tears? You going to run to your mom?" Giovanna stepped closer, her voice calm. The kind of calm more dangerous than shouting. "You know what's most cruel, Cordelia? I might have forgiven you if you'd told me, if you'd looked me in the eye before stabbing me." Cordelia looked away. "We were girls, Giovanna. I was always the shadow. The rich friend but not the heiress, beautiful but not the bride. Do you know what it's like to live beside a star and never shine?" "Yes," Giovanna said, barely raising her voice. "Because now I'm the one in the shadows, and from here, I see clearly." Cordelia stepped back. "What are you planning?" "Justice. But not like you understand it. No shouting, no scandal. Precision. You'll watch it all fall, and you won't be able to stop it. You think you can take him from me?" "Take what? Emilio?" Giovanna laughed coldly. "What you took was a corpse dressed as a prince. I'm just putting him back in the mud where he belongs." The night of the gala arrived. Villa Verniso shone with lanterns, golden ribbons, and the sound of a string quartet. Giovanna walked among the guests like a ghost wrapped in velvet. Her smile gracious, her hands steady. Cordelia wore red as if she had already won. Emilio laughed loudly, kissed cheeks, made toasts, but something behind his eyes twitched. Doubt Marchesa Malfatti approached Giovanna. "Tonight feels electric, doesn't it?" "The storm always comes after the calm," Giovanna answered. "Or before the ruin," the Marchesa whispered with amusement. At midnight, Giovanna climbed the staircase, a folder in her hand. The music paused. The crowd looked up. She stood on the landing above them all. "Good evening. I won't take much of your time. I've always believed that truth is a guest we forget to invite. So I've brought it here myself." She opened the folder. Inside, copies of financial fraud signatures, proof of embezzlement, faces changed, gasps replaced violins. Emilio's voice rose. "This is slander, lies." Giovanna descended slowly, each step deliberate. "Then prove me wrong." Emilio, silence. Cordelia turned pale. Guests left in waves. The string quartet never played again. The next morning, Emilio's arrest was on the cover of every paper. Giovanna didn't appear in any photo. She was already gone. Months passed. The Tuscan hills bloomed with sunflowers and silence. Giovanna lived in a small, restored house among olive trees. She woke early, tended the garden, wrote with ink-stained fingers. Francesca visited on weekends, bringing fresh bread and letters. Sometimes Luca came. They talked on the terrace, drank coffee in silence, laughed without bitterness. One afternoon, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Luca asked, "Do you think it was all worth it?" Giovanna didn't answer right away. She looked at the horizon where gold met shadow. "I don't think about the cost anymore. Only about what I would have lost if I had remained asleep." She closed her notebook. A breeze carried the scent of rosemary and ink. She was no longer waiting. She had already returned, and this time she belonged only to herself.
Thank you for listening. The journey has just begun. Until next time.